Southport murderer Axel Rudakubana was able to buy knives on Amazon in seconds, despite being just 17, with a history of violence, and that's on the front page, the Amazon killer. Let's talk now, though, to Matt Vickers, MP, Shadow Minister for Crime, Policing and Fire. Matt, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. How's it going?
Yeah, very well indeed. We're trying to get to the bottom of Keir Starmer's rather perverse view of the law, and also his rather strange view about why Axel Rudakubana was able to get a knife online, which apparently was the reason that he was able to commit those horrible crimes in Southport. I mean, as I've been saying, it's very simple to commit a knife crime in this country, I'm afraid. There's an awful lot of it, and most of it is committed by people simply armed with knives from their kitchen drawer.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrendous, but actually, when you look at what happened there, you would kind of hope that human beings weren't capable of doing that to other human beings. Some of these individuals, you kind of trying to account for and create a situation that prevents absolute evil people, animals, from getting hold of knives and doing terrible, terrible things to people.
Yes, exactly right. I mean, we are living in a time when there is an awful lot of violence around, and I mean, I'm not certain that it's due to the fact that there's a lot of violence online. I don't know what your party's policy is on this, but and I think Keir Starmer's going to find it pretty difficult to limit what's available online, isn't he?
Do you know what? There is already, it is an offence to sell a knife to someone who's under 18. That's already a thing. Right. There's also legislation came forward that said if you are an online retailer and you sell a knife to someone who is 18 that gets delivered to the house, you've got to make sure that there's a process in place that it's going to get handed to someone who's over 18. They've got to sign for it or whatever. Yeah. If someone's broken the law, if one of these people has sent this thing out illegally, then they should face the full consequences of the law. If not, that's what we need this review for. That's what we need this inquiry for, to get to the bottom of how we can prevent these things getting sold online like this.
Well, exactly right. But we're not just talking about the fact that you can buy a knife online. He's talking about the content that people can look at online. You know, the violence, the terror, the ghastliness, the real kind of, what you might regard as what would be called X-rated content that you can find, whether it's pornography, whether it's violence, whether it's terror. I don't think that's possible to really clamp down on either, is it?
It's a real challenge, but we've already seen movements in that direction. We've seen the online safety bill that's tried to do that, that's tried to control put responsibility on those online platforms for what can and can't be shared on them. That's what we've tried to do in recent years. But it is a huge challenge because there's all sorts of workarounds. You catching the person who's uploaded something onto the internet is a really big challenge because they could be anywhere in the globe doing what they want. But we have got to get a grasp of it. We've got to control it because we cannot have our young people seeing some of the horrendous things that they do see online.
Yeah, exactly. And let's talk a bit about the law here and the contempt laws as well, because I think Keir Starmer dropped a bit of a ricket, I think, yesterday when he tried to make out that, you can't say anything about a case as soon as somebody's arrested, that, you have to be careful that you don't prejudice a trial. I'm slightly worried that, he would be moving towards a kind of clamping down on freedom of speech because, journalism is as was famously said to me once, is all about telling people something that somebody doesn't want you to know, right? It's not about just producing a press release or interviewing Keir Starmer and putting out his words as if they're somehow, jewels from heaven. It's about asking difficult questions. It's about finding out things that people don't want you to know. And I don't think we want to live in a country where the Prime Minister basically says as soon as somebody gets arrested, you can't say anything about them. You can't find out who they are. You can't say anything about their background because that's not actually the law.
Well, do you know what? We welcome the fact there's an inquiry on this issue. Well, on the whole Southport issue, the horrendous things that went on in Southport. But we want to make sure that this is included. We want to actually have the discussion about what should and shouldn't be said. And actually, for all Keir said he didn't want to talk about it, the reality is that the independent reviewer of terrorism legislation has said that you do have to be frank with the public. You have to share what information you can. There is a limit. You don't want to prejudice a trial and go into the details. But actually, the worst case scenario that we've seen in recent times was Angela Rayner trotted out on the 21st, 31st of July and said anybody suggesting that this is a terror incident is spreading fake news and conspiracy theories. Right. The government has to be upfront with the public. Otherwise, then misinformation, online sources will fill that gap. And actually, the government not only has to share what it can, it has to not go out there and say the opposite of what's gone on.
Exactly right. Just one final one for you, Matt, on Rachel Reeves. She's over in Davos today, her and David Beckham. It's a right old jamboree over there at the moment. Unfortunately for her, though, the country has been hit by the biggest job slump since COVID. We've just had breaking news this morning that the debt spiral has now gone, in some ways, probably past what the fiscal rules are that she's supposed to be adhering to. I mean, how much more of this can we take? I mean, how much further down the gurgler can the economy go with these people?
Do you know what? I think she should be ashamed to turn up in Davos. The state that she's left our economy in. She's borrowing £40 billion more, borrowing £70 billion more of spending. But do you know what? It's tale as old as time. We know what happens whenever Labour get into power. They start spending like nobody's watching, taxing like nobody's noticed, and they go for it. And every Labour government in history has left with unemployment higher than when they arrived in office. That's not just a stat. That is people's lives. That's their ability to take home a pay packet for their children, for their families. It's horrendous what they're doing to the economy. Inflation is going up, tax is going up, unemployment is going up. It's horrendous, and it has real consequences for people across this country.
Absolutely right. Apparently the Treasury borrowed £17.8 billion last month. What on earth are they doing with it?
It's absolutely horrendous. But do you know what? For anybody who was here under the last Labour government, it's not unexpected, is it? It's kind of where we knew we would end up.
Yeah.
The economy crashed. Anybody who dares to get up early, go out, earn a living, invest in a job, try and create jobs for others, push a bit of growth in the economy. We should stop calling him Keir Starmer. He should be called Keir Shrinker. The damage he's doing to this economy is unbelievable.
At least Tony Blair took 10 or 11 years to crash the economy. I mean, these guys have done it inside 10 months.
Yeah, they're moving fast. They're moving fast.
Typical. Great stuff. Good to talk to you. Thank you. Matt Vickers, MP, Shadow Minister for Crime, Policing and Fire. Let's get a voice note from Andy.
Morning, Mike. Andy from Aylesbury. That absolute prat, Lord Carlisle. I don't understand how you can justify saying that it's the law, that you're not allowed to be prejudicial towards the court. Do you remember the attack on Finsbury Park Mosque? Keir Starmer said that was a terrorist attack within half an hour of the guy being arrested.
Yeah.
Not only that, you got the murder of Joe Cox. He also said that was a terrorist attack, again, within minutes of the guy being arrested. And then the rioters over the summer, they were described as being far-right thugs by Keir Starmer before they didn't have a plea in court. It's cobblers. Anyway, love the show. See you later.
Absolutely right. Andy knows more about the law than Lord Carlisle. This is the thing. You know, the question about what is terrorism and what is not terrorism is not as simple as what the legal definition of terrorism is. It's about what the powers that be want you to think. As we just were reminded there by Matt Vickers, I'd forgotten about that. Angela Rayner actually came out and said anyone who calls Southport a terrorist attack is peddling fake news and is a conspiracy theorist. Well, that was a flat-out lie, because she must have known about the terror aspect of it as well. So it's worse than them just pretending that they weren't allowed to let information out. They're now actually admitting to concealing it, and we know why. Everybody knows why. It's like the Emperor's new clothes. You know what's going on,